Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into an hour-long, multi-speaker crypto presentation all about the Origin ecosystem and its LGNS token. We're going to look directly at their source material, analyze some pretty bold financial promises, and really break down exactly how they're pitching this to their community. Let's get right into it. The pitch actually kicks off by tapping into a completely universal dream. I mean, what if you could achieve complete financial freedom without ever touching a traditional bank? They immediately target those underlying motivations we all have, right? Generating side income, escaping the daily grind, building generational wealth. They frame their project not just as a piece of tech, but literally as a direct pathway to reclaiming control over your own time and your financial security. So here is our agenda for this explainer. First, we'll look at the evolution of crypto. Second, banks versus DeFi. Third, decoding Origin. Fourth, staking and returns. Fifth, community and NFTs. And finally, we'll wrap up with the latest ecosystem updates. Okay, moving right into section 1, the evolution of crypto. To build some credibility right out of the gate, the presenters spend a good chunk of time grounding their project in history. They trace this chronological narrative starting with the 2008 banking collapse. That moment public trust was completely broken. Then they map out Bitcoin's birth in 2009 and Ethereum's launch in 2015. By laying out this track, they're strategically framing their 2024 LGNS project as the ultimate logical next step, like an advanced digital civilization, essentially. Section 2. Banks versus decentralized finance. To build their case here, the speakers present a really stark dichotomy between the old world and the new. Traditional banks, they argue, are incredibly restrictive. They require strict KYC or identity checks, enforce lock-in periods, and, let's be honest, offer a measly 3 to 6% fixed return. In sharp contrast to that, they pitch Origin as a DAO. That's a decentralized autonomous organization, entirely controlled by users. They're promising 24/7 global access, zero lock-ins, and variable, but potentially massive, high-yield returns. All right, section 3, decoding the Origin ecosystem. So once that philosophical groundwork is laid, they rapidly fire off their technical credentials. The token launched in March 2024, and it operates on a dual-chain system using the Polygon and Anubis blockchains. For stability, they note it's pegged to the day stablecoin, which basically means it's tied to the US dollar. They boast about having 137 smart contracts audited by industry heavyweights like CertiK and Armor Labs, and notably, they really stress accessibility here. Unlike some platforms that demand huge upfront fees, they say absolutely anyone can enter this ecosystem with just a single dollar. To push that trust even further, they claim the project's treasury is approaching $4 million. This is presented as this rock-solid financial foundation that supposedly prevents the token from ever dropping below $1. In their words, this ensures it's an evergreen project. Moving on to section 4, staking and compounding returns. Okay, here is where they make their most mathematically bold claim. They actually argue that the token's fluctuating market price doesn't matter. Now, unlike holding a stagnant asset like Bitcoin, where you're basically just hoping the real-world dollar value goes up, their system constantly generates new tokens. Because of this, they claim, and I quote, "Compounding is the real price." To illustrate this, they use a hypothetical scenario that sounds, well, almost like magic. Imagine you buy tokens at $5 each, and a massive bear market crashes the price by 50%, down to $2.50. Now, traditionally, you'd just be down 50%, right? But they claim because you are constantly earning daily token rewards through staking, your total volume increases so much that you still withdraw a 10% monthly profit in dollar terms. And if the price doubles, they suggest your interest could skyrocket to 40% or more. Crazy, right? This brings us to section 5, community ranks and NFTs. So how do users actually scale these massive returns? Well, it's through a pretty complex affiliate ladder running from rank V1 all the way up to V6. But here's the catch. To even start unlocking these DAO rewards, you absolutely must buy an Awake NFT. And to get that, you need to hold 10,000 LGNS tokens or stake $15,000 worth of DAI. So it's a massive barrier to entry. Then, once you have it, you have to go out and recruit to build 3 direct downline teams, or what they call nodes. And the scaling requirements for this jump dramatically. Reaching the entry V1 rank only requires a pretty manageable $1,500 of total team staking volume. But if you want to hit V2, that skyrockets 100-fold to $150,000 and then jumps again to $300,000 for V3. Reaching these upper tiers is framed as the true path to lifelong financial freedom, which, as you can probably guess, heavily incentivizes very aggressive community recruitment. Finally, Section 6, the latest ecosystem updates. In the final updates of the presentation, it was announced that Awake NFT holders, who they affectionately call landlords, actually received an automated airdrop. This means free tokens were just deposited straight into their wallets. Averaging 26.81 LGNS tokens per NFT, this move was clearly designed to reward early adopters and prove to the community that their smart contracts distribute wealth exactly as promised. From there, they pivot to the future, teasing this upcoming deflationary black hole phase. This is basically a mechanism where tokens are intentionally burned, meaning they're sent to a permanent, unrecoverable digital address. They claim this creates artificial scarcity, permanently reducing the token supply to indefinitely prop up the price as the whole ecosystem grows. And the way they talk about this perfectly illustrates the community's overall tone. The speaker read an announcement that honestly sounded like a triumphant victory lap, praising the absolute believers who remain steadfast through all the market noise. They promise that the gates to this era are closing, and those inside will be handsomely rewarded. The pitch ends with a really powerful analogy. They argue that many people missed early real estate booms or the meteoric rise of Bitcoin because they had the opportunity but just lacked the realization to act. They are positioning Origin as that exact same once-in-a-lifetime chance. But look, when we examine the complex tier systems, the required massive recruitment, and these promises of guaranteed yields in a famously volatile market, we really have to ask, in the unregulated Wild West of decentralized finance, where exactly is the line between realizing potential and risking it all?